Have you ever gotten so anxious that you actually start to shake? It's a really common and, let's be honest, kind of unsettling feeling. Well, today, we're going to break down the science behind why our bodies do this. And more importantly, we'll look at how you can get back in the driver's seat. So let's just dive right in.
You know that feeling, right? Maybe you're about to give a huge presentation, have a difficult conversation, or you're just totally overwhelmed by stress. And then it starts. Your hands start trembling, maybe your legs, maybe your whole body. It's a classic human experience.
If this has ever happened to you, the number one thing to know is that you are definitely not alone. This isn't some weird quirk you have. Nope, it's a deeply programmed biological response. And we're about to get into exactly how it works.
So first, let's just talk about the experience itself. That feeling, that uncontrollable shaking. It can feel pretty alarming in the moment, but just knowing how many other people go through it can make a world of difference.
And when I say it's common, I mean it. Just look at this number, 40 million. That's roughly how many adults in the US deal with an anxiety disorder. It really puts into perspective just how widespread physical symptoms, like shaking, really are.
So at its heart, anxiety is that feeling of worry or fear or just plain nervousness. But the key thing here, as this definition shows, is that it's not just happening in your head. It triggers very real, very physical symptoms, and shaking is one of the big ones. It's a perfect example of that mind-body connection we hear so much about.
Okay, so we've established it's common. But why? Why does our body flip out like this? Well, it all comes down to an internal alarm system that we all have.
And here's the star of the show, the fight or flight response. This is an ancient survival mechanism hardwired into us. When your brain senses a threat, and it doesn't care if it's a lion or just a looming work deadline, it smashes a panic button. And that panic button floods your body with hormones to get you ready for action.
So here's how that chain reaction works. First, your brain sounds the alarm. That immediately triggers a huge surge of adrenaline. This hormone makes all your muscles tighten up, right? Getting them primed to either fight or run away. But what if you don't actually do either? All that pent-up energy, all that muscle tension has to go somewhere. And the result? It gets released as shaking or trembling.
You know, understanding the why is super powerful, but knowing what you can actually do about it, that's even better. So let's switch gears and look at the toolkit you have for managing these symptoms and getting that feeling of control back.
Generally speaking, we can break management down into two main paths. On one side, you've got your lifestyle and self-care. We're talking about the fundamentals here. Getting enough sleep, moving your body regularly, and using stress busters like yoga or meditation. Then, on the other side, there's professional treatment, which includes things like therapy and medication. Both of these paths are totally valid, and a lot of the time, they work best when used together.
Let's dig a little deeper into professional help for a sec. Psychotherapy, especially something called cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT, can be a game changer. It literally helps you retrain your brain's response to stressful situations. Then you have medications. Doctors might prescribe anti-anxiety drugs or antidepressants. But, and this is really important, these are serious treatments that absolutely require a doctor's supervision. This is not something you figure out on your own.
Now, it's also smart to zoom out for a moment. Because while anxiety is a super common reason for shaking, it's not the only one. So we should quickly talk about how to tell the difference.
This little chart here is pretty helpful. Over on the left, you see the kinds of symptoms that usually tag along with anxiety shakes, a racing heart, feeling jumpy, that kind of thing. On the right, you see other medical conditions that can also cause tremors. Now, the point here is absolutely not for you to self-diagnose from a slide. It's just about awareness, you know? So if your symptoms don't really line up with the anxiety picture, it might be worth looking into it further with a professional.
And that brings us to a really important question. At what point do you say, okay, I need to talk to a doctor about this?
The general rule of thumb is pretty clear. If your anxiety is messing with your daily life, your job, your relationships, just your ability to get through the day, it's time to get help. Same thing if you're feeling hopeless or showing signs of depression. And this is critical. If you are having suicidal thoughts, that's an emergency, and you need to reach out for help immediately. And of course, if you just have a gut feeling that something else is going on with your health, a doctor is the person who can help you solve that puzzle.
So, what have we learned? That shaking from anxiety isn't some kind of weakness. It's just your body's ancient survival programming going into overdrive. And we've seen that there's a whole toolkit of options to help manage it. Just understanding the why behind it all is a huge, powerful first step. So the only question left is, what will your next step be?